Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you. Not another peep. Kinda
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Fold and lock your door. 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
All right, welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show.
Welcome, guys.
Danny Bonin here
And
with you.
Scotty back with you as well.
We are the Blood Brothers.
I almost cut you off there before you said your name, like the end of your name.
That's all right.
Okay.
Everyone should know my name by now.
Yep, everyone should know. So if I cut him off, you guys know that's Danny and I'm Scotty.
You guys don't know it, but we have Steve here with us.
Yep.
Steve's my dog.
Yeah, you might have thought of Steve was like another guy that's in the room with us, but Steve is his dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did name his dog Steve.
I did. It was between Steve or Brendan.
Those are pretty good names.
Good dog names.
Unique and different. You would never think a dog was named Steve or Brendan.
No.
Or
no.
Terry. Terry is a weird dog name, too.
So I know Scotty knows this story, but we were hiking once.
I knew you were going to say it.
We were hiking and we're on top of this mountain in Colorado, 14er. Colorado has 14ers, mountain peaks which are 14,000 feet or above. And there's like 58 of them,
Yep.
technically 56. And so we're trying to hike them all. We've done 22 so far, right?
22. Yeah, baby.
So we're at the top of one of them, and my dog is like, we're eating lunch. My dog is bothering this other guy who's eating lunch, like
By himself.
maybe 50 yards away from us or something. And I yell at my dog. I'm like, Steve, get over here. Steve, get over here now. And the guy's like freaking out and looking over at me, and I'm like, running or walking towards him to try to get my dog. And he's like, is your dog's name Steve? I was like, yeah. Well, that's my name, too. So he's sitting there just eating his lunch, and I'm like, Steve, get over here.
And he thinks you're yelling at
now.
him, not the
Yeah.
dog. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, do I know you, buddy?"
So that was pretty funny.
He's all freaking out, like, this guy's going to come beat my ass.
But
Oh, no,
anyways,
his dog's name's Steve.
all right. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I've been
Here
excited
we
for
are,
this
baby.
series, actually.
Oh, man.
I really
I've
love
been really
this one.
excited, too.
Yep.
I just love... I love it.
Yeah.
And, we're going to touch on not just the first one, but a few of them.
Yeah, we're starting with the first one, and we got a lot of information for you guys tonight. So,
Yes, we got a lot of info for you guys.
but yeah, we're entering the Texas Chainsaw Massacre segment, and we'll probably cover most all of these, just because I haven't even seen the new, like that Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I know a couple of those new ones probably don't count as like classic horror movies, but we got to do the whole segment.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see what we hit on.
We'll see if we get through all of them. I mean, I know some of the movies, like there's that one with Jessica Biel, and then there's the 3D one. Some of them that are kind of correlate in the same era.
Yeah.
They're kind of similar. We might not
I
cover.
mean, the
but we'll
best
see.
one is the one with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh God, yeah, that one and the first one.
That was my favorite one. McConaughey is fucking awesome. with
Next
his
Generation or whatever.
his little robot leg.
And he's just nuts in it.
Yeah, he's
just fucking
insane.
nuts. He's living in the house, and it just goes crazy.
Gosh.
Love to see him on fire.
So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I guess we'll just jump right into
Yeah.
it. Why not?
1974, filmed in 73, released in 1974.
Yeah,
so it's an oldie.
Was finished and then took a year to release. A lot of the cast members were saying we sort of forgot about this
Yeah,
thing, and we didn't even know. We sort of assumed after a while that it just wasn't going to get released.
Some of them thought, they thought
Yeah.
it just was not going to get released. Then finally, they pulled some strings, and it was finally released
Yeah.
like 1 year later.
Gunnar Hansen was talking, and rest in peace, I must say, because Gunnar Hansen died just last year. But
Oh yeah, rest in peace, Gunnar Hansen.
But he was saying in an interview that, he sort of just forgot about it and then suddenly got a call one day saying, oh, we're trying to plan a preview and a little party and everything. And, oh, this thing's really coming out.
Yeah. And it was really, they filmed it, they ended filming it in September of 73, and then it got released in October of 74, so it was like a year and a month.
Yeah.
It usually doesn't take that long, obviously. But there was a lot of flack, they had to deal with money and stuff and all this, but I love this movie. I mean, you see some of those older movies like The Crazies we're talking about, and even Night of the Living Dead's awesome too, but like after The Crazies, Martin and The Crazies, but this one was up there with being awesome for how old it is.
I think for it being 1974, it might be like the best at that time because this would have been the same time as the Crazies and I guess Martin as well. Those were all early 70s.
Early 70s, yeah.
And this. I mean, we just went through all of George Romero, not all of it, but a bunch of his stuff, and I loved a lot of it, but this just sort of blew it out of the water at the time, I think.
Yeah, at that time.
For me, anyways, this is my style of movie.
Yeah. I mean, I love the gore,
And there's not much gore in this movie.
Just the weirdness of it, just how crazy and weird it is.
Basically, what I like is the nonstop and then the psychoness of it. So I guess the brutalness of it, and not so much because it's not visually very brutal. And I'll get into that in a minute, but because they were trying not to do a lot of gore, Tobe Hooper was actually shooting for a PG rating on this movie.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Which is insane. I guess in 1974, a PG rating was a lot. Mm-hmm. Maybe they let more shit fly than they do.
Yeah.
Nowadays in a PG rating, but. Yeah, they're like, he was thinking if we just don't put that much blood and gore and we don't actually see a lot of the kills, then we'll get a PG rating. Mm. Of course, that didn't happen. They initially got an X rating and then they had to cut some things. Got an R rating.
To all these films.
Yeah,
got to cut a little bit or cut a couple seconds out. Then.
I just can't imagine them making this movie in their mind, in his mind, and thinking, we're going to get a PG rating, and we're going to have, 4-year-olds able to watch this.
Not going to happen. So. Not going to happen.
I mean, I'd probably let my 4-year-old watch it, but but not The Exorcist.
Yeah, The Exorcist is not up there. But this one, it'd go over his head almost because everyone's just so crazy and weird in it. And
so that's why I was saying, why I like it so much, and that's why I like really Evil Dead 2 so much is because, and mainly Evil Dead 2, my favorite is the second one, and especially when he's by himself cutting his hand off and shit.
Yeah.
Because like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's really just chaos. It's really just these fucking crazy ass people or one crazy person, and I mean, you're getting chased with a guy with a chainsaw wearing a person's face.
Yeah. And
it's brutal.
He has 3 different faces that he wears, and the one he puts makeup on and puts lipstick on and gets dressed up for dinner, and then you see him running after you. It's what they're saying. It's so astonishing. It's more like almost like a documentary because they're just there's only a certain number of characters, and it just the way the movie goes along. It's like. It's just weird how it paces, and that's why it's so different.
It popped into Tobe Hooper's mind. Tobe Hooper's the director, by the way. It popped into his mind.
Did the story and screenplay.
Yeah, along with Kim Henkel.
Kim Henkel, yeah.
Co-wrote the screenplay. But Tobe Hooper came up with this idea while he was a documentary filmmaker. Mm-hmm. So it very much resembles that. In the beginning, they sort of trick everybody with saying it's a true story. Mm-hmm. When in actuality, it's not a true story. I mean, it is based loosely on some of this murder. Some of the scenes are based loosely on Ed Gein.
Yeah, and when he went on a rampage and murdered.
He actually only murdered a couple people, but he was a grave robber, basically.
And this was like the 1950s. Yeah. So that's where Tobe Hooper got the idea, kind of, and based a little bit of his concepts off of that.
Yeah. So the serial killer Ed Gein, not the maitre d' at Canal Bar.
Yeah.
If you can name that movie, then we think you're awesome.
Should I give it away?
No.
Okay.
Comment on our page if you can name what movie that's from. Ed Gein, maitre d' at Canal Bar?
No. Serial killer.
1950s. Anyways, they don't have a good bathroom to do coke in.
Yeah. We keep it down. I'm trying to do drugs.
Now you're just making it too easy.
All right, yeah, better not do that.
So yeah, loosely based on Ed Gein. That's what I'm saying. That they fooled people by putting the true story thing in the beginning. When if you actually know all the dates, it's not possible because they were filming. I think it was. Gosh, in the intro it says something like, "This story takes place like October of 1973 or something." But really, they started filming in August or September of 1973 or whatever. It was like a couple months off where they actually started filming a couple months before they say it happened.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be a true story because it would be in the future. But I think they got a lot more sales by playing it off. It's like the whole Blair Witch, when Blair Witch Project came out. And I remember when it came out, I was like, did this happen? Is this a true story? It was sort of one of the first found footage style films,
Yeah.
And everyone's wondering, is this like a documentary? Did this really happen? What the hell's going on here?
This Texas Chainsaw has a lot of camera movements of film, like someone's holding the camera, almost like there's zoom up on the eyeballs, and there's zoom up on like the headlight and stuff. It's very different.
Yeah, some of that
camera angles,
some of that camera work when she's at the dinner table and everyone's freaking out. It sort of draws on for a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
It just sort of it sort of intensifies the craziness, I think.
Oh yeah,
you
totally.
have like 5 minutes straight of switching between close-ups on her face while she's screaming, and the cook, over here laughing and just giggling.
Yeah,
and,
close-ups.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It's a sort of a crazy
and
scene.
We'll definitely get to that scene and
But,
what happened and
so
whatnot.
we said directed and written by Tobe Hooper, but co-written Kim Henkel as well. 30 million gross domestic.
Domestically and Canada, I believe too.
Yeah.
I thought was in there.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about it. This budget is all over the place because there are figures anywhere from $90,000 up to $300,000
between there.
Yeah, depending on where you look and who you listen to. But they don't really have a definite figure because financing this thing was all over the place, and I didn't even take notes on the entire thing. But you could read through a couple paragraphs on Wikipedia if you wanted to about this. But basically, they started with $60,000, and that was put up by a couple people. Well, one investor
producers.
mainly, who formed a company just for that. So they put up the $60,000, and in return, they were supposed to get 50% of all profits.
This same investor invested in the Thing movie too, I believe.
Then this might have been later that they got a hold of that. But they started with the $60,000. And then I think they actually, in shooting the film, stuck within that budget. But then once they got into editing, they went way over.
Yeah, it went more than they.
So then, they needed more
imagine.
money, so they got like another $25,000 from a couple other investors who then formed a company for that, and everything just went all over the board. Like they were having to promise the actors percentages of the film instead of paying them up front.
Yeah.
And the actors thought they were getting, and the percentages were like 0.25% up to 6%, depending on what their part was, but they thought that was out of the full proceeds when really that one company owned 15%, so it was really half of what they were thinking they were getting, and so it was all over the place. Finally, they ended up going with someone else for distribution, and
it was a mess.
Yeah, and they had to pay them like 200-some thousand, and then a portion of the proceeds, and people got screwed, and then they had to sue the company because once they hit the box office, they didn't pay them the right amount, and I don't know, it's all over the board. So without getting too detailed, there's a lot of money issues.
But it did, with the issues, it did do well, well as expected, well better than they expected.
Yeah,
$31 million.
Of course.
And there was mixed reviews about it too. People loved it, people hated it.
Yeah.
People said it was the best horror movie ever. Back at that time, rivals of Night of the Living Dead and stuff, and they what I agreed with some of the critics, they loved the acting too, and I thought the acting was was pretty good in this too.
Yeah.
With the character choices and just how well the teenagers played it, and the kids coming in the van, and then the guy, Gunnar Hansen, and we have I guess we have the list of actors.
Well, yeah, let's talk about how they got in there. I mean, the first note I have is John Dugan, who played Grandpa, who was actually like in his 20s or something.
Yeah,
and
he had a latex mask over his
obviously
face.
You see Grandpa in the movie, and he's heavily make-upped, which apparently, and I've read a couple different things on this, in one of the documentaries we watched, they only had 3 faces for Grandpa, and so they had to get his scenes done in 3 makeup applications. But then another article I read said that they got him into makeup the first time, and he never wanted to do it again, so they had to shoot all his stuff while he was in makeup, and they did like so many hours straight of shooting with him in
Like
makeup.
26 hours straight of shooting. And all of his scenes are at the dinner table.
Yeah, except for the one upstairs when he's in the
one
rocking
upstairs,
chair.
yeah. But the majority of those 26 hours were at that dinner table. So that was actually the most grueling scene shot in the entire movie. That's from what the actor said.
Yeah, well, and we'll get to some details on that too. But yeah, so John Dugan, who played Grandpa, apparently his sister was married to Henkel, who was co-writer.
Kim Henkel.
Yeah, and at the time he was doing a children's show, a theater production, children's show, where he was getting paid like $12 a show or something, and they were doing 4 or 5, I don't know how many nights a week, but 3 to 5 nights a week or something. And so when he got this offer, he immediately quit the show, came down to be in the film.
John Dugan.
Yeah. So that's sort of how he heard of it. Was
Kim's like, hey, you want to be in this movie? Be the grandpa? Oh, sure.
Then you
Quits
had
the show.
So then you had Jim Seedow as the cook.
As the cook / father, what do you want to call it?
Yeah.
If he's the father to Leatherface and Edwin, who's
Well, no.
crazy.
Seedow was the
Jim Seedle.
Jim Seedow was the hitchhiker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I thought that was Edwin.
No, that's. Oh wait.
Edwin Neal. Edwin Neal's the hitchhiker.
God, what a. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so no, Jim Seedow was the cook, the older guy.
The
father, or whatever.
I guess whatever you want to call him. That runs the gas station and the barbecue and stuff.
So he was actually in a movie with Tobe Hooper before this. I'm not sure the name of the movie, but I don't think anything recognizable or anything like that. But they just had done some a film together, and so that's how Hooper knew him and asked him to come be in the film. And then he was sort of funny to watch in one of the documentaries. He's definitely almost like that character. He has the very heavy Southern feel to him and accent and everything.
And he's they really did a lot of their own. Well, they did all their own stunts here, but they really they didn't let back. Well, they actually used Seedle is hitting Marilyn with a stick, as hard as he can, and she said, "Hit me," and they got bruises, and then the truck chasing scene when he's hitting Edwin Neal with a stick too. He's like, "What'd I tell you, boy?" He really beat him too. So that's
they all came out with bruises. They did have. I know Marilyn had a stunt double for a couple things. Yeah, but then Edwin Neal, who was the hitchhiker.
He was great. He was so freaky.
He was really good.
He was one of my favorites for sure.
So and he was actually they held auditions I think at UT in Texas the university there. Mm-hmm. And I guess he was just leaving the university or was walking through the hallway, and they heard someone was like, "Oh, are you guys here to audition for the movie?" And he was like, "Well, what are you talking about? What movie?" Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Oh, they're having auditions for this movie right in there." And so they sort of go and peek in the room, and one of the guys are like, "Oh, you're here for the audition?" And he's just like, "Yeah, sure, yep." Tobe Hooper's sitting there with a cigar. He's like, "Come on in and
come on, here you go.
Come on in and read this part." And so Edwin Neal, I guess, has a handicapped nephew, or sort of a crazy nephew. I don't know if he has autism or what, but after when he went to read the part, he just when he read over it before he actually read it out loud, he thought in his head, "Oh, this sounds exactly like my nephew." So he just did his best impression of his nephew, and that's exactly what Tobe loved and
what they wanted. Yeah,
he ended up basically playing his nephew in this movie.
But he was just a psychopath in this. I mean, that first van scene when he cuts his hand and blows up the picture, and there's those weird camera angles. It makes the movie freaky, and he really just rocked that part and was just crazy.
So then Gunnar Hansen was in a production of Mice and Men with somebody, and that somebody knew Tobe Hooper and said, "You got to check this guy out for your movie."
Yep. Because Gunnar Hansen, he's like 6'4".
He's a big guy. Said they met and talked, and he thought that was the end of it. But then they called him a few days later.
Yeah, he didn't think they were going to call him back, and they called him.
Called him and asked him to come down, and they asked him, "Are you
mean?
Are you a mean guy, or are you violent or something?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No." And they're like,
Are
"Are you weird?" I don't know what they said.
Are you crazy? No.
He's like, "No." It's like, "Well, can you play it?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Well, you got the part."
Yeah. So he said no to everything, but they still cast him. But he had that look,
Yeah.
He had that look.
And he said something. Of course, this interview that this quote came from was in like 1988. So, 14 years after the movie had been filmed. So maybe his views or his opinions changed over time. But he talked about how he did not want to be remembered for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was talking about how now that's his biggest thing in his life, and that's what everyone knows him from. And
people really think he is Leatherface and acts like that.
They think in real life that he's brooding and down, and he's like, I just don't want to be remembered for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That'd be the biggest thing in my life, and that's unfortunate. He said.
Although he said he loved doing the part and he wouldn't take it back. Like it was really awesome.
He loved being there and doing it, but just didn't want to be. That's the only thing people know him from, which pretty much was the case.
Yeah.
Until he died. So maybe he changed his mind about that as the series got bigger. But
and he got huge, too.
But who knows?
More popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually Gunnar Hansen also. To get more into his part, Leatherface, he went to the Austin State School, which is the home for the handicapped, and spent time there and acted like he was part of the school. And he was there just long enough to get it, to just act like them and try to... Because, he was kind of like that, too. Just like Edwin Neal's part. He's not quite there. He's handicapped.
Well, that's how he took the character. He said, "I had pictured this guy as a retarded adult," and that's a 1988 interview. I mean, it's sort of funny the way he put it. He's like, "I went to like a school for retards or something."
Yeah, that's what he said.
I guess it's less sensitive back in 1988.
That's why I said handicapped, because I didn't want to say
if you were
exactly.
interviewing someone today, I went to the school for retards and walked around and acted like observed the retards the whole time.
Yeah, that's what he said. I'm like, I'll keep it down to like handicapped, but that's what he said in the interview. Yeah, that was hilarious.
So
but anyway, so that's how he mimicked some of his role from that and kind of learned a lot. And obviously, you notice he makes a lot of weird noises in Texas Chainsaw, like high pitched noises.
Yeah, and when he's first introduced, when they come into the house and you hear the pig squealing, they asked if he could squeal like a pig, and I guess he just couldn't, and so that sound is dubbed in, added in later. But he did say he did the sounds where he hits the 70s dude with the fro in the head with a hammer, and pulls him around. So those are his sound effects.
I love that first scene when he kills the first victim, which is Kirk.
Yeah,
I just love it. It's so awesome. Kirk comes in. You see Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface, standing there, knocks him over the head with the huge sledgehammer, and Kirk starts like convulsing.
Yeah.
And then he just drags him in and just slams that door shut and it's like boom. Does that like brooding
sort
music.
of just happens out of nowhere. I mean, you're just watching the movie and all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck, he just hit him with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Like imagine if that was you saying hello, walking into a house, and all of a sudden, bam, sledgehammer to the head.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Sledgehammer's head, shuts the door, and then she's still out there. That's the first introduction of Leatherface, and it's just like it's the most memorable way that I see him, and it's just that first part. That's the first time you ever see him, and I thought that was the best. That was my favorite part of the movie.
I thought half the time in the beginning that chick had no shirt on.
Oh yeah,
she was like the backless. Mm-hmm. Apparently that was a trend at the time.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Backless shirt and bell-bottom jeans.
I kept watching. I'm like, turn around. And see her. Are we gonna get a boob shot?
Yeah,
here?
is there a boob shot? And then so that was Pam, which was Terry something, but then Marilyn. What the heck's her name? That plays the girl the girl that gets killed. Yeah, Marilyn Burns, which plays Sally. Her shirt gets ripped in it, and then you see her back throughout the whole.
But no boobs.
But no boobage.
Well, when you're trying to get a G rating, I guess in '74, you can show bareback, but not boobs.
Yeah, Terry McMinn is the one that played Pam, which had the backless shirt.
Which is surprising if you can imply a girl getting hung on a hook and cutting a guy in half with a chainsaw for a G rating, but you can't show any boobs.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That's not, yeah. I could not see how that's passable.
But anyways, so
yeah, let's move on to
let's talk about the dinner shoot.
The table scene. Yeah, gosh, that's where I'm at too.
So they're all at the dinner table and they have plates of barbecue or sausage in front of them.
Yeah, real sausage, real meat.
And so they used real meat, and of course they had to sit there for. I mean, one of the interviews said 3 weeks.
Yep.
While they were shooting, they couldn't move it for continuity. Mm-hmm. And literally, they would inject this food with formaldehyde to keep it from rotting too
decomposing. But it still was decomposing, rotting. They said the house just reeked hours on end shooting. And keep in mind, this was in Texas in July.
Well, the middle of summer.
So it was like 105 degrees outside.
Well, I think they recorded the hottest day at 110 while they were shooting. Mm-hmm. And so it was just blistering fucking hot inside. And
no, there's no AC in this house.
No ventilation.
And they covered all the windows with blankets and black plastic to make it so it looked like it was dark.
Yeah, because the whole thing takes place at night.
So they said it was like 150 degrees on the inside. And it seemed like it. That's what they were saying. But I bet you it was probably,
I don't know.
110?
100 something. And so yes, they got this meat rotting. It literally smells like shit in there. And it's what anyone who was interviewed was just talking about this fucking dinner's like the dinner scene was the worst ever.
They said they had flies that they had to keep out.
Yeah, flies everywhere.
Fly problems.
They had to actually keep telling the actors not to squint their noses and shit, even though the food was right in front of them. They're like, don't stop doing that because this food's not supposed to be rotting right now. And so they would literally inject the food with formaldehyde, and between the heat and also the smell of the food combined with the smell of the actors, I mean, they talk about how Gunnar Hansen only had one outfit for the whole fucking shoot, and they didn't want to wash it because the shirt, first of all, was dyed with a certain color and was made up a certain way. That
it had blood marks on it.
Yeah,
and
if they washed it,
some rips and stuff.
They were afraid of not getting it back to this place it was. And then,
for continuity's sake, Then
Gunnar was saying how they didn't want to wash the suit because if they took it to the dry cleaner, then they didn't want anything to go missing. And so he literally wore the same costume for 3 weeks straight.
For weeks.
And he said people did not want to sit to him while they braked for lunch. And
he smelled bad.
Even one other person in the interview was like, he smelled like shit. Total shit.
And you notice in the movie, you do see the characters sweating in it. And maybe because they're so intense. But, I mean, Edwin Neal, you see him pouring sweat. And I'm sure Gunnar Hansen is pouring sweat underneath that mask. And He has to have that whole. They said that this. Well, of course, this was the scene that they shot for 26 hours straight. Was at
the dinner table scene.
Table for John Dugan, which plays the old man. But Gunnar Hansen had to wear that mask for those hours. I mean, they took breaks, but he had to wear it for the majority of those hours.
Yeah.
So imagine what he was going through. Oh my God.
So yeah, they just talked about how miserable and hot, especially that one scene was, and all the food and
Cold meat's going bad, and oh man.
So yeah, 26 hours straight on that scene that they shot to get it done with.
And keep in mind that was just that one scene, but throughout this whole shooting, they did 7 days a week, 16-hour days every single day.
Yeah.
So it was a gruesome shoot.
Yeah, well, they had such a low budget, and they were trying to get done in time to get the rental equipment back that they were using. So
yeah,
it was just crazy. But
and Leatherface. So we Gunnar Hansen talked about how he had 3 faces, but I only saw the 2 faces in it.
Yeah, he sort of had that pretty girl, the pretty face is what he called it, which is what he has on. Face. It's what he has on for dinner because they, have dinner guests.
Yeah. And in the first scene, of course, he has the first mask, which is more iconic, I think.
Well, and they had a cut scene where he puts even more makeup on the pretty face for dinner.
Primped for dinner.
Yeah, where he actually goes out of the dinner table room into a side room and puts on a bunch of makeup. So you can actually sort of tell in one scene, he's wearing the pretty face with makeup, and then randomly in another scene, there's like a bunch more makeup on the face than there was before.
Yeah.
Because they cut that scene out. So.
Whoa. Holy shit.
What's that noise?
What is that sound?
Jesus.
Oh my God, I have a chainsaw grinding in my ear. God, help me,
that
God.
Means, it's the horror halftime. Horror halftime. So this is where we give you something to do, and if you do it and we like it, then we give you free shit. That's as simple as it gets.
Beautiful. Beautiful thing, baby.
Steve even gets it over here.
Steve is licking me.
He just popped up for the horror halftime.
Hey, Stevie. How you doing, buddy? You ready for the horror halftime?
Yeah, I think
he's ready. He really is ready.
So yeah. Well, since we're in a new segment, we can just divert back to our memes again, as always. So give us your best Texas Chainsaw meme. Posted on our page. We already seen a couple of the funny ones, like, original face swap inventor and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So try to come up with an original
from the original movie.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw meme. Post on our page, facebook.com/Cult Classic Horror. And if we like yours the best, we'll send you a free shirt, most likely.
And we do have a Texas Chainsaw shirt.
Yeah, we have a Leatherface shirt.
Yes, we do.
All right, post it there. And yeah, that concludes the horror halftime.
All right.
Jump back into it.
Let's jump back into this guy.
So yeah, another cut. We talked about how that cut scene with Leatherface, and then another sort of grueling scene. Of course, grueling. This is Edwin Neal talking, and if you watch one of the documentaries, he's sort of dramatic when he talks about everything because he's also a comedian. He's
a funny guy.
Very versed guy. But anyways. When the truck hits him at the end there, and it just fucking runs right over him. Runs right over him. They had a different shoot where it hit him, and he goes flying off the side of the road and lands, and then it shows his face right next to the camera, and he has this like broken jaw and blood coming out of his mouth.
And
So he's saying how they were shooting that scene, and it was hot as fuck outside, of course. And the cement was it's the kind of cement that you could cook an egg on,
Yeah, cook a piece of steak on.
And so he laid down with his cheek cooking on of course he claims, sizzling. I could hear my skin burning on the cement. And
sizzling. And because he was establishing himself as an actor, he didn't want to get up and say anything and break character.
Yeah, he wanted to just keep shooting. And they also put a rock under his chin to prop his jaw up to make it look like it was broken. And so here he is, and they kept pumping blood in his mouth to drain out. Yeah, Caro syrup. And so they did all this. He talked about how miserable the shoot was, and then they didn't even use it in the final cut.
So he said that was his most grueling scene cut or shot there, and they didn't even use it. But I like the semi truck running over him, which probably wasn't
that was
even
pretty
him.
brutal.
That was brutal at the very end there.
what the heck, G rating with that
no way.
semi truck running over you.
Which brings us to the next one with the hook, which we talked about.
That's true.
So Terry McMinn, which plays Pam, she's the one that got the hook first. Well, she's the only one. That got
she's the only one that gets the hook.
Which she actually, you actually don't see the hook go in, but you see him hanging her up, and you see a different angle, but you don't actually see the hook go in, but you finish it with your mind as we were saying. You know, you just imagine it going in, which was pretty gruesome. That made me wince a little bit. But they actually used a like nylon harness. That she hung on like a nylon harness, like whatever, made out of like pantyhose or something. Yeah. And they flipped the hook around the other way when they actually hung her on it. So the hook was right side up when it was the camera view seeing the hook, but then when they hung her, the hook was flipped and they hung her on the nylon harness.
Understand what they were saying about that, but I thought they just hung her on the hook by the harness.
That's
or
what,
something.
but they said they flipped the hook around. But I don't see how you could have done that.
Understand what they were, but they hung her by a harness, anyways. Which she said was still really painful. That it was digging into her legs and thighs and stuff, but she just used it.
She used it and went with it and stayed in character.
Scene.
So she was the second kill.
Probably the freakiest sort of behind the scenes thing though is at the end when Leatherface is chasing them with a chainsaw and the chainsaw actually cuts his own leg.
Yeah. When the trucker throws the wrench at his face.
So he actually had a metal sleeve around his leg.
Metal sheath sleeve.
And on top of this metal sleeve was a piece of steak with a blood packet on top of it as well, under his pants, obviously. So originally they were going to have a stuntman run the chainsaw, or not a stuntman, just one of the crew members run the chainsaw, so that it would show him fall, and then it would skip to a close-up of the chainsaw hitting his leg,
and the stuntman running it. Yeah.
But Gunner was like, "No, I don't trust like that person to not actually cut my leg." Yeah. So he's like, "I'll just hit myself with it." And
at first they did it without teeth.
Yeah,
on it.
At first they tried it on a chain with grinded off teeth, but it wouldn't cut through his pants right or something. Wouldn't barely even cut through his pants. So they just did it for real. Fucking chainsaw was running.
Chainsaw with the teeth on it, and it was running.
And then he said the shot they used, he did it, and with the teeth on everything, it hit the leg, it cut it open. Yeah. He said that the chain heated up the metal sleeve so much that it actually burned him like right away. And so he thought that the blade actually cut into his leg. And so he sits up and grabs at his leg right away. And he was for real freaked out and thought like it really cut his leg when it didn't. But
they took everything off. Everything was fine. It was just a burn. But that scene looked for using that take. It actually looked pretty good, and it came out good. And it doesn't look like it's steak. To me, looks like it's flesh.
It worked great.
Getting sawed up there.
They talked about a couple stunts like that where they just went for it. I mean, I don't know. I read about this, but I'm not sure what death they're talking about. Where he cuts the head off with a chainsaw, because maybe it was the wheelchair death.
Yeah, Franklin.
And you don't actually really see that much of it. It's just blood splattering on Leatherface.
They cut him down the center.
Yeah,
and then he.
But they
up the gut too.
They said while shooting, like they literally got the real chainsaw 3 inches from his neck or something like that to shoot that correctly. So
speaking of the chainsaw, I'm so used to seeing a red chainsaw because of Ash, with the red. But this one was like a neon green chainsaw.
Yeah,
I never realized it until I watched it again.
Apparently, and I tried looking for this while watching the movie, and I couldn't find it, but. Apparently, it was just a Polian Pro chainsaw, and they put a piece of black tape over the logo just to cover it.
Yeah,
and that was it. So,
and speaking of this moves on. So they actually didn't have a makeup special effects artist that did most of the makeup. There was actually a plastic surgeon. His name is Dr. Barnes.
Yeah, and I didn't get if is the plastic surgeon that did all the makeup or just Grandpa's
I think
makeup?
he just did Grandpa's.
Okay.
I know because they were talking about how it was 7 hours to make the mask and then apply it after it. That was like the whole process.
Yeah.
And it just took forever. But they actually had a plastic surgeon on set.
Yeah. That's crazy.
No Tom Savini back then. They didn't get him.
He was around.
Or
but he wasn't
Nicotero.
there. Nicotero might not have been around at that point. Too young. But so my notes are sort of all over the place there. But plastic surgeon Gunnar said later on that in the response to this movie, and this is probably why he didn't want to be really remembered as Leatherface, people would say some nasty shit. They would like blame him for recent murders and killings and stuff, saying that he provoked this in his movie playing Leatherface.
You're responsible for the misery in this world, blah, blah.
Yeah, and just some nasty shit from people.
They see him out in public and, they'd recognize him from the...
Or maybe I think
movies.
they was getting like letters and phone calls or something, basically saying, your movie is shit and you inspire these killings and murders and stuff. And
yeah, and at the time it was... I guess this was 88 and it was years later, but he said he still gets them to this day, 15 years later. People still have, and that's, a lot of them don't say, you're responsible for this, but there's like chainsaw jokes like, hey, and they run up to him and make the chainsaw sound. And he's like, all those jokes are just getting tiring and dumb, So that was kind of drug on.
He talked about how he had a date shortly after the movie was released and she was excited to go on a date with this, sort of movie star. And so he's like, they went to see Texas Chainsaw. And I think he warned her, but he said after the movie, she didn't say a word and they got to her house and she just said, thanks, shut the door, and was totally freaked out by him after that. I guess some people just can't see past the part. I don't know.
And then Gunnar Hansen actually did... He took one of his girlfriends to the actual house that it got filmed at, which this was filmed in Texas, obviously, guys. And I actually wrote down it was filmed in I just had it right there. Where was it?
Well, he took his girlfriend to the house and was just showing her around, saying, "This is where we filmed it."
Yeah,
that's what I just said.
Sorry. But then there was teenagers there, right?
Yeah, a few teenagers pulled up and were looking around, and they looked over at Gunnar Hansen and just said, "Hey, did you know that they filmed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre here?" And he just said he was just like, "Oh yeah, that's cool," and then they just took off.
So they had no idea.
That
it was him.
He was Leatherface.
It was filmed in a farmhouse near Round Rock, Texas.
Yeah, which is not there anymore. If you guys go to look for it, it just looks like an empty. Well, I don't know. There might be more. There could be a development there now, but that house definitely is not there anymore.
The house got moved to Kingsland, Texas, and is now restored as a restaurant.
Yeah, so they actually moved the entire house.
So if you go to Kingsland, Texas, you can go to the Texas Chainsaw original house and eat breakfast.
And they were, who was it that bought the gas station they stop at and it was making it into a restaurant that's like, memorabilia with Texas Chainsaw memorabilia and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was like, I recognize the name. It was like Kurtzman or something who was involved with the Nightmare on Elm Streets. New Line did end up getting distribution for Texas Chainsaw like in the 80s. I think it was 83 or something. Throughout all the money and changing hands debacle, New Line finally, after the company went bankrupt that distributed it, and I don't know, whatever happened, but New Line picked it up. Yeah, Bryanston was the original distributor, and they went bankrupt, and everything through them got effed up, and so New Line got distribution in the early 80s, and so that could be why Kurtzman, whatever the hell his name was had an interest in opening.
Something like that.
But anyways.
But yeah, so these are, there's a restaurant. The whole house is a restaurant. Think of all that rotting meat that was in there for weeks on end, and you're going there to eat, and obviously they cleaned it and stuff.
Well, I guess besides the rotting meat, all those skeletons and bones were real, and I guess that shit starts to stink bad too.
And the close-ups and everything and the music just with that was so freaky too.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Apparently, getting real skeletons from like India was cheaper than getting fake skeletons from the U.S.
So those are like real skulls and bones.
Yeah,
we see
that's what I read, and also they had a actor director. I don't know if he was in the movie or not, but they had a guy travel around the area just picking up whatever animal bones he could find in different stages of decay and rotting. So some of them were full bones, some had flesh on them, and basically he took everything he found and they just littered the floor of the house with that shit.
Cleaned up the bones a little bit first.
I don't even know if they cleaned them up. They just threw them on the floor. That added to the stench of everything. So they had these real bones that were decaying, and one of the actors said that, God, I think one of the bones is being used near or as a lamp or something.
Yeah.
And the smell of it burning was like the worst smell he'd ever smelled in his life. It's like burning bone.
Well, you see, there's the chair that was made out of bones. It was like 5 different people put together as one person as like the bone chair. There's a lamp that was made out of bones. There was
the lamp made out of a head. Face.
Out of a head.
That was cool.
There was the chair that had the actual arms for the arm.
For the
rest.
arms, yeah. That was
and
cool
of course,
too.
there's the grandpa that was barely living, and then the grandma that was dead upstairs decaying. I mean, this house was decked out, man, and they really put a lot of time into this farmhouse.
The only reason I mentioned Marilyn had a stunt double is because I know they use a stunt double when she jumps out the window of the house on the second floor. But then they said that when they did her insert shot of her just falling on the ground, that she like injured herself just doing that. So it was. She did really good though. I mean, that whole part of her screaming at the dinner table and her eyes wandering around and. That was an intense scene, and then of course she is bloody as hell at the very end, and that's the infamous shot with her screaming and riding off the back of the truck and stuff. But it's in our intro at the moment.
Yeah,
if you guys listen to that, maybe if you're listening to this years from now, maybe it's not, but probably still is.
But it's probably still current. This does rank number 1. I read a fun fact. Ranks number 1 on Slant Magazine's top 100 greatest horror movies of all time. I've never read Slant Magazine, but I saw that fun fact, so just want to let you guys know.
All right. Who knows if there's any validity to that, but
yes.
There it is for you. We have also the blood mainly for Grandpa's scene when they cut her finger and he's drinking her blood or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently they
nibbling her finger.
Yeah, apparently they really cut her finger for that. They couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal was. They couldn't get it to look right, but they razor bladed her fingertip.
She's like, just cut my finger.
Shoved it in his mouth.
Well, from what I heard, Marilyn Burns that played Sally, she was a trooper. She's like, just do it.
Yeah. Hopefully,
she told the father, the cook, just to whatever his name is, Michael or Jim. Sorry.
Yeah.
Jim Cedric.
Cedal.
Just to hit him. Just hit me. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So she was really, but then of course she got a stunt double, but still.
Hopefully she didn't have AIDS, and then Grandpa has AIDS now because he sucked the blood out of her finger.
Blood. Yeah, that would not be good.
Because wasn't that? I mean, that shit was rampant. I'm just
back in the 70s, man. I'm telling you, you're right.
There were AIDS all over the Texas Chainsaw set. AIDS and rotting meat and.
that second scene when she jumps out of the window again, it screws with you because it's like daylight. It's like daylight again. So that dinner scene must have been like a long dinner scene.
Yeah.
And then she's running out and stuff, and it was great though. Another fun fact. It was theaters in Ottawa, Canada were advised by police to withdraw the film and if they didn't do it, they would have faced charges. So it was banned in a few places.
Well, this film was instantly banned in so many places when it came out.
Yeah.
Then only to eventually get re-released later.
A few years later.
Did tons of money in rentals and VHS rentals.
Like $14 million.
So yeah, it was. I don't know. It's just
hot tape on the shelf.
It sounds like that's this normal story for a lot of these horror movies that we talk about instantly banned in these countries, and rated X and had to cut a bunch out, and but then the VHS sales were just sky high, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, you always hear that, because it's released on video, and then that's where they can see it on their own qualms. And,
well, now it's just such a different world these days.
Yeah.
With no one buys it anymore. Or no one,
Yeah, you just download it, or you can get it on Netflix or whatever.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't rated G, because then
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have even wanted to watch it.
Yeah, I would have done a Franklin lip trill.
Yeah. I thought his tongue was in there. It was like
When
he
when
did
they're upstairs at his parents' old house, his family's old house, and you're like, you can't go upstairs. Oh, you said it was gonna be fun.
he blew the shit out of his mouth. They were like, he just really went for that.
Yeah, they did that for it seemed like 2 minutes, 5 minutes straight.
I have a feeling that he did that, and all the crew and set people were just like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah, and they just kept it in the movie. God.
Yeah, he was crazy. I was waiting for him to do the truffle shuffle.
Yeah, I was too.
From the Goonies, even though it wasn't around yet.
He made Marilyn I know, Goonies wasn't around yet. God, I love that movie. But it's not classified as a horror movie, so we can
definitely
be
not.
covering that.
Definitely not a horror movie. No.
But yeah, he made Marilyn push him through the thicket, and he ended up getting his head sliced in half by the chainsaw, even though we don't really see it. But yeah, overall, love the movie. Man, we covered a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about the G rating, and they were rated X. I don't think I've ever seen I don't remember ever going to watch a film that was rated X or even NC-17 these days. Is that even a thing that people release? I guess they'll release unrated movies sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It used to be rated X, and now the rated X is wiped out. Now it's NC-17. But like you said, I haven't seen an NC-17 around in a long time.
I don't know. I've seen some rough movies though.
Evil Dead.
That worst ever Serbian film.
Oh God. Well, I was just the Serbian film. You do not want to watch that, guys.
You guys have some of you probably seen that.
A Serbian film. It's banned in the U.S.
I have to talk. We watched this with my cousin Kathleen, who I have to give kudos to now because we forgot. So back when we were doing the Freddy episodes and we were watching all the Freddys with my cousin Casey, we were also watching those with my cousin Kathleen. Which is
Casey's sister.
We were all in on the horror, and actually now to this day, whenever we want to watch horror movies, Kathleen's, if she didn't live in China right now,
Kathleen, we miss you.
Yeah, it's our go-to person for horror movies. It's we want to go see a horror movie, but our wives won't go. But we know Kathleen will, so let's invite her.
She's like a hardcore horror fanatic, just like we are. So we could always count on her to go to awesome scary movies with us.
So anyway, she was like, "I got this movie that was banned in the U.S., but I have a copy of it. It's called a Serbian film. We should watch it." And I was like, "Okay,
all right, whatever." Banned.
So
US?
we start. This was probably a year ago, and we started at her family. We were at her parents' house because she was staying there for some reason, and her dad was in the back. He started watching it with us at first. And literally, it's about a porn star who gets asked to do this project, but it involves you
don't want to give it away, do you?
It's killing people while he's screwing them, and I don't know. It's pretty bad.
It gets worse than that. It's the most disturbing movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
I could give away the ending, I guess, but I won't. It's it ends the worst ever. You see the ending. And you're like, oh my God, that's the most fucked up thing ever in humanity ever.
It's one of those you have to watch just to watch it, but you might not want to.
You're gonna see.
I won't watch it again.
You're gonna see a lot of dick shots, and you're gonna see
a lot of
bite his dick
a
off?
lot of torture.
Don't you see a dick being bitten off in it?
Yeah, they don't let the camera off. It's a lot of torture porn. It's like a torture porn.
You guys you're gonna want to watch this movie. Don't watch it if there's any chance that someone under 18 years old is gonna walk into the room,
or your mom, or someone like that. You just be prepared, guys.
Literally, if my wife started watching that with me, she would get pissed at me. Like literally pissed off, wouldn't talk to me for a day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She'd be like, why in the fuck would you even watch something like this? I'm not talking to you.
It's seriously the most messed up movie I've ever seen. And I got it. Ugh.
Anyways, I just had to bring that up.
Yeah. So anyways, Kathleen, we miss you. Kudos to you. Thanks for
watching a Serbian film with us
and bringing that to our attention, because we are hardcore horror fans, and that was way disturbing.
But I think we covered all of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974.
Yeah. Classic. It is a cult classic.
We'll keep on going forward through the Texas Chainsaw series for the next while here till we're content with it.
Until we feel like we want to move on to the next round of series or single movie or whatever.
So yeah, remember to participate in the horror halftime. Also, if you haven't already, definitely download us on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and a review if you could. That would be freaking awesome.
Please, guys.
Yeah.
We love you forever.
And Horror Store is up and active. So go to cultclassichorror.com, click on the Horror Store, or you can just go to store.cultclassichorror.com. And
so many ways.
We've already got some items up in there you can order, and we'll be adding some to it all the time. So, yeah, check that stuff out.
Rock out, guys. This was awesome.
So thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.
Catch you next week, guys. Later.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.